Hello, I'm Genndy Tartakovsky. I'm an animator and director and creator of Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, Primal, and Unicorn Warriors Eternal. I'm here to answer all your animation questions on Twitter. This is Animation Support. At Tatsumilology, how is 2D animation so smooth and fluid? Tell me. For animation, we go at 24 frames per second. Let's say my arm goes from here to here in 24 frames, which is 1 second. So 1/1000. It'll be really smooth. If I don't have the time or money to do it, then I'll start going to 12 drawings. And now all of a sudden, it's not as smooth. And then if I really am running out of money and time, then I'm going to do it faster, and I'm going to do it in 6 frames. And here, now you're losing the fluidity, but I'm gaining money so I could do the rest of the episode. But it's a fake. Nobody cares about fluid or smooth. You want great acting, you want good jokes, good stories, good characters. If it's a little choppy, I don't care. So don't obsess over smooth or fluidity. Obsess over stories, character, humor, storytelling. At Peach42, why are there so many cartoon characters that don't wear pants? That is an old, timeless question. It's haunted me in my dreams sometimes. It's just somebody's choice to have a character be naked, and it's okay if he has a bow tie on. Let's keep thinking about this one, all right? Thank you. At Bizaru, do voice actors try and time their voice to animation, or do animators have to animate what the voice actors say? The voices come first before the animation starts. We have the actor come in, they'll read the line, we edit it into the shot, and then the animator starts to animate to the lip sync. And we break down the waveform, right? So what's loud, what's accented, and then we'll follow that for the animation. Now, interestingly enough, for Primal, I just have grunting. We did our dialogue recording after the animation was done. Aaron the Plant, who voiced Spear, he would then come in, we would play him the picture, and then he would do the grunting to the picture. A lot of anime is actually dubbed sometimes after with the voice cast, but for our style of animation, our mouths are very articulated. We have to do it to the voice recording, not after. At Weiss Choice, or Weiss Choice maybe. When they make sequels to animated movies, do animators repurpose shots or elements of them from the former movies? I don't really know much about animation, so this could be a very stupid question. For Hotel Transylvania, from the first movie to the second movie, we repurposed most of their character designs and the castle itself. But on the other hand, because technology is going so fast, within a couple of years, ImageWorks, the studio that we used, they reprogrammed all their tools. So they couldn't just use it. They had to input it and then change it and upgrade it. But yeah, usually for sequels, unless you change locations, there is some savings in that. At my Ike Cams, what are the 12 principles of animation? Basically, there's squash and stretch. You have a circle, it gets hit by something, and so then it squashes. That's squash and stretch. Then anticipation, before you can go straight, you have to go backwards. For a big cartoony character doing a punch, the anticipation is crazy. So this is a big anticipation for a punch, and then the punch would be, completely off the page. So there's your anticipation, and there's your punch. And follow through is if you go to grab something, things move at different speeds. So if the hand is anticipating this way and we're gonna grab, then when we move it, my wrist will go first, my elbow will go back. And so you see the wrist is leading here, and then it catches up after. So that's all about overlapping action and follow through. And you can put the squash and stretch in there too, because then the hand can be delayed a little bit, then there's a little stretch. And really those 3 will get you started. There are 10 maybe there's 8. And I'm not going to give them to you because they're the earned principles that you have to first learn the first 5 principles. And then when you get to the 8th principle, sometimes we'll throw in 3 more principles. And by 30 years in the industry, I know 27 principles. But I'm not going to talk about them because you can't even comprehend those principles. I'm probably going to get reamed for forgetting a whole bunch, but, start with those. Disorder. How often do animators forget to animate the characters blinking, and how often do we just not notice they haven't been blinking for like 5 minutes? Blinking is part of keeping a character alive, and sometimes even breathing. It's an odd thing because it's really creepy because you almost feel like they are kind of alive. We did that on Fang in Primal where we had her breathe more because she's such a big creature. Sometimes you forget about the little things, and sometimes the little things say a lot. We're always kind of thinking about it, so usually if the character's just standing there, we'll always remember to use a blink. But good observation though. At Slow Beef, 3D modeling animation question. Is an armature and a rig the same thing? Rigging, we use the term for, you know what, I'm not gonna explain it. It's hurting my brain. An armature is basically a skeleton. This is the worst drawing I've done today. That's your armature, but rigging is actually in CG animation, you put a point here and you put a point here, and now your elbow and your arm can move. So that's called rigging a character for movement. And the armature is really the proper beginning to the rigging process. It's something I hate to talk about. At Junie by the Sea, why is Hotel Transylvania's animation so good? Hotel is good because we took the principles of classical animation, stuff that was done in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and we translated it into CG. And what that means is adding, new sculptures to the model and every new expression and pushing the squash and stretch and forgetting about gravity. And actually, one really interesting thing that happened was because our animation was so extreme, what happens is you animate like a naked puppet, basically. It goes to a different department and they put the clothed dynamics over it. The computer then knows how to fill in the dynamics, but not when you're moving from here to here in one frame. That doesn't happen in real life. So constantly the clothes dynamics were broken. The animators had to go back in and actually start animating the clothes like how we would do it on paper, and then they would put those keyframes in for the dynamics, and then they would follow them a little better. Everyone had so much fun, I think, doing it because the results were so unique. At I Am Me Essence, or I Am Essence, it's a little Papa-ish, I Am Me Essence. Who knows how to create a cartoon character? I like to really think of a character inside out. Is it a happy character? Is it a sad character? And then you're going to start to find shape language that suits those personalities. I'm going to draw it because I like to draw. So let's say we're going to draw a happy character. Then the posture of that happy character will usually be happy. Arched, and there's already a positive vibe to this character. Now, in the same respect, let's say it's kind of a sacky, sad character, and the body posture has to work with the attitude. And that's really the beginning principles of it all, how it all works. Also, once you start drawing your character, they're going to start changing. It's like having a baby. The baby starts as a pile of mush, and then it starts to tighten up and grow older and have a personality and all those things. When we first designed Dexter, Dexter was really tall, even though we knew we wanted him to be short. And as we start drawing him as a rectangle, we do hundreds of storyboards and we keep going with it. All of a sudden, the shorthand, he starts to shrink and he gets squatter, right? So you can see the difference. And it's funny because Dee Dee didn't go through the same transformation. I think her torso maybe got a little smaller. We call it pushing proportions. She was kind of like this, right, in the first season. And then same thing, we drew her more and more and more and more, and then she became this. Nothing that we really thought about on purpose, but just something that happened organically. So don't be so hard on yourself and draw the character exactly the same every time you're going to draw them. Give yourself the freedom to get comfortable with it. The character will become who they organically want to be without trying to think about it too much. At Little Uzi, my cousin, why are the Clone Wars episodes so short? The truth of it is we were really the first ones to do Star Wars besides like really just doing commercials. And initially, George only allowed Cartoon Network to do 1 minute episodes. And I said, well, 1 minute is basically a commercial. I don't want to do that. I need at least 3 to 5 minutes. They went back to George and his son, especially, I think, liked Samurai Jack. So they said, we've got Genndy and the team from Samurai Jack, but they want more time. And so then George said, well, okay, they can have 3 to 5 minutes. I think he was afraid we were going to mess it up, and I don't blame him. Because that's like your baby. I wouldn't want somebody else taking it and just doing what they want with it. That's the truth behind the shortness of those first Clone Wars. At She Ascends, why did my parents let me watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit at such a young age? I don't know why. I think it's okay. It's not that bad. Who Framed Roger Rabbit helped actually bring back animation. Basically around 88, animation was in really bad shape. TV shows were really bad quality. Even Disney feature animation was about to get sold. Then they were making Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and it kind of reminded people how fun animation could be. And not only technically did they blend live action and animation, but they combined Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse together in the same movie, so it felt something more special, and it was great because of it. At Simi Kiera, how do you direct an animated show? It's all about having a point of view and having everybody help you to create that vision. I was doing Dexter's Lab. We had an artist would draw the storyboard. We would pin it all up, and then they would pitch it. We had one storyboard artist. When he pitched the storyboard, it was in this funny voice. And so Dexter come over here, and then there's Dee Dee. And so the whole room was crying, laughing. After he finished, I was like, well, how the hell am I supposed to transfer this performance into this episode? Because he doesn't sound like the characters at all. They don't talk like that. But there was something about it that worked. And so I realized, oh, right, that's my job. My job is not to take this performance and translate it into something entertaining. It was like a really big epiphany in my career. Like, oh, right, that's actually what I do. At Twisted Lil Kim. What was your favorite Samurai Jack episode, and why was it the Jump Good one? It's not the Jump Good one. It's probably the Blind Archers one, because it's the first episode that everything worked at such a high level. The story was simple and super cool. The design of it was very simplistic and great. And we did that thing where we blinded him and it was black. And as the audio came up, we started to see it. So it was so artistic, but still had badass action. There was something about it that really clicked. You never want to pick favorites, but that's probably the one that had the most impact on us. At Chris_Cull. As someone who doesn't work in animation, how often is a storyboard made? Like every cut in the scene, or is it a set number of frames? Generally, the whole rule is every time you cut, there's a new storyboard. Every time there's a change of emotion, there's a new storyboard. Every time anything semi-significant happens, there's a new drawing in the storyboard. Our storyboards have now become basically almost extremes because the storyboard is so important. Now we're drawing more and more panels. Lucky for you, I have some storyboard examples. For Unicorn, Warriors Eternal, for the first episode, this is Copernicus, who's the robot coming out of his little grave. We'll cut to the hole, and you see his arms come out. A bunch of steam that comes out, and he starts to lift his body up, and he continues up, and now we cut to a different front angle, and he rises up, and then lands, and then we start cutting close. And then when I draw this, I'll maybe even break it down even more to a degree. And this, this is all the first episode. I like to do it like this first, so then I don't get bogged down with the drawing. All the emotion and the speed and the pacing comes out. Storyboards, they're the most important because that's your story. It's everything. Without a storyboard, you got nothing. At Slow Motion, writers often give animation notes. Where do animators get to submit notes for the writers? That's a big question. In a situation, sometimes a writer has too much opinion, and then the artists don't have as strong of an opinion, but the writer gets to tell us what to do. Artists and storyboard artists are a proud bunch, and we know what we're doing, but sometimes we don't. And so we'll forget the writing, we'll throw it away, and then we'll do it on our own, and it's equally doesn't work. So usually the healthiest relationships are the writer and the animator are both together, and they're either unified team. That's why I always write my own stuff for the most part, because I want to have dual power. But yeah, usually animation folks don't get a chance to give writers critiques. We just complain about it at our desks for 3 years. At QP96, do you know the difference between animation and cartoon, or should I mind my own business? Animation, cartoons, anime, whatever, it's all the same thing. But yeah, in the industry, especially in features, cartoony might have some negative connotations. I love all the old style of animation, the Warner Brothers, Tex Avery, all that stuff. I love to use the word cartoon. It's one of my favorite words. So I think you're good. At 95 Vivo, my character design homework is to draw a cartoon character using the golden mean. How the fuck? I'm not really familiar with the golden mean. I think what it's trying to say is to be dynamic. We used to say this thing, keep the proportions of the design special. If you have a character, you don't want all of the elements to feel even, because this is just boring. What you want is your elements of the design to be special. If I'm designing a football player, you can design them like human proportions, or it's that. And same thing for composition too. Usually we think of the camera broken down into thirds, and where do you put your horizon line? If you put it in the center and then your character in the center, everything is kind of boring. But if you take, your horizon line and you lower it, and then your character's on the side here, all of a sudden we've got drama and interest and scale. So when it says your character design homework is using that principle, it's just big, small, and medium. And think about it as what's special or unique. Add unoriginal username. Cartoons are better because you can create a world. What limitations do animators face that they can't surpass? It's all about how well you draw. If you can draw it, it can exist. If you can imagine it and you can draw it, it exists. So the only things I can't do are the things that I can't draw. And in my position, I'll then find somebody who can draw those things and I'll hire them. But yeah, usually you're just limited by your drawing ability. There is no limitations, and I guess your imagination. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions, and really thank you for the last 30 years for watching all the shows. It's super special to me, and I appreciate all your time, and thank you.